Trigger warning. This story contains themes of emotional abuse, favoritism, and toxic family dynamics that may be disturbing to some readers. I am Rachel, 35 years old, and mother to the most incredible 10-year-old twins, Oliver and Zoe. After my devastating divorce 2 years ago, we moved in with my parents. What I thought was a lifeline became the most shocking betrayal I never saw coming. When my brother Marcus and his wife Vanessa had their precious baby Logan, my children became invisible ghosts in their own grandparents' home. If you're enjoying this jaw-dropping story, drop a comment about where you're watching from and smash that subscribe button to join our storytelling family for more explosive real-life drama. When my husband Derek and I imploded after 12 years of what I thought was solid marriage, I was devastated, not just emotionally, but financially destroyed. We had built our entire existence around his software engineer salary, while I worked part-time as a nurse, foolishly thinking I was building a stable foundation for raising our twins. The divorce left me with shared custody, pathetic alimony, and the terrifying reality of needing to work full-time to prevent us from becoming homeless. My parents, Helen and Robert, offered their home as a temporary solution. "Just until you get back on your feet," my father said with what seemed like genuine concern. I was desperate and grateful, despite our complicated, toxic history. Growing up, I had always been the responsible one. The people-pleaser who followed every rule and exceeded every expectation. While my younger brother Marcus was the golden child who could literally commit murder and still be praised. I spent 8 grueling years putting myself through nursing school, specializing in pediatrics because I genuinely loved working with children. My path wasn't flashy, but it was steady and meaningful. Marcus? He dropped out of college, started a tech business that my parents funded with their retirement money, and was now making 6 figures at 32. The pattern of favoritism was so deeply embedded in our family's DNA that I had become numb to it, until it started poisoning my children's lives. Oliver and Zoe were extraordinary kids, each with personalities that could light up any room. Oliver was the creative genius, always drawing masterpieces or building incredible structures, with a sensitivity that sometimes made navigating the cruel world challenging for him. Zoe was my fierce little warrior and natural-born advocate, outspoken and confident, always the first to stand up when she witnessed injustice. Both were thriving in school despite the emotional earthquake of divorce and displacement. Our initial arrangement with my parents seemed genuinely positive. They converted their home office into a bedroom for the twins, and I took the guest room. I contributed significantly to groceries, did most of the cooking and all of the cleaning, ensuring my children were respectful of their grandparents' space and routines. I worked brutal 12-hour shifts at the children's hospital, sometimes overnight shifts that left me exhausted, which meant my parents helped with school transportation when needed. The plan was crystal clear. Save enough for a security deposit and first month's rent within a year. I was obsessively careful with money, taking every extra shift available, and putting aside every possible dollar. The housing market was absolutely insane, but I was determined to give my children the stability they desperately deserved after their world had been turned upside down. Then Marcus and Vanessa had baby Logan, and our world was obliterated overnight. My parents had always favored Marcus, but their reaction to his baby was something from another planet entirely. They transformed the formal dining room into an elaborate nursery, despite the fact that Marcus and Vanessa owned their own 4-bedroom mansion across town. They purchased outrageously expensive baby equipment that would only be used during visits. We're talking thousands of dollars. My mother started canceling plans to help with my kids if Marcus needed anything at all. "Your brother needs more support right now," she would say with shocking coldness. "He's new to parenting." The devastating irony that I had been a single parent for 2 years somehow completely escaped her selective memory. At first, I tried desperately to be understanding. New babies are exciting, and this was their first grandson. Oliver and Zoe had been their only grandchildren for 10 years, so perhaps they were just intoxicated by the novelty. I encouraged my kids to be patient and kind, explaining that little Logan needed extra attention because he was so vulnerable. The favoritism started subtle but deadly. Christmas gifts that were shockingly more expensive for Logan than for my children. Constant comments about how Logan looked exactly like Marcus did as a baby, while Oliver and Zoe had always been said to resemble their father more than me. Small cuts, but they accumulated like poison in our bloodstream. I tried desperately to compensate by creating special moments just for us. We would escape to the park on my rare days off, or have movie nights crammed into my tiny bedroom. I started a savings chart on my bathroom wall where the kids could track our progress toward freedom. Just a few more months, I would promise them, my voice breaking. We'll have our own home by Christmas. But as spring melted into summer, the tension in the house became suffocating. My parents became increasingly vicious in their criticism of my parenting decisions, from what I fed the twins to their bedtimes to how much screen time they were allowed. Meanwhile, Marcus and Vanessa were treated like royalty with Logan, even when they would show up hours late for family dinner or cancel plans at the last second with zero consequences. I was walking on a razor's edge, trying to shield my children from the soul-crushing reality that their grandparents were treating them like unwanted pests, while also trying to maintain peace. I needed my parents' help. I couldn't afford childcare on top of saving for our escape. By the end of summer, my savings account was growing steadily. I had calculated that by November, I would have enough for a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Just 3 more months of swallowing my pride and reminding my children that we were guests in their grandparents' home. 3 more months of watching my parents worship Logan while barely acknowledging Oliver and Zoe's achievements. 3 more months of hell. I had no idea how much more devastating things would become before those 3 months were up. The situation exploded in September when Marcus called a family meeting. He and Vanessa sat at my parents' kitchen table with baby Logan, dressed in an outfit that probably costs more than my entire weekly grocery budget. "We've got some exciting news," Marcus announced, looking directly at our parents while completely ignoring me. "We're finally doing that major renovation on our house, the one we've been talking about for ages." My mother clasped her hands together like she was witnessing a miracle. "That's wonderful, sweetie. The thing is," Vanessa continued, bouncing Logan on her knee like a precious jewel, "we'll need somewhere to stay during construction. It should only be about 6 to 8 weeks." Before I could even process what was happening, my father was nodding enthusiastically. "You'll stay here, of course. We have plenty of room." I cleared my throat, my heart pounding. "Actually, we're already pretty tight on space with the 5 of us." I gestured to myself, the twins, and my parents. My mother shot me a look that could have killed. "Family helps family, Rachel. It's only temporary." And just like that, the decision was made. No one asked how I felt. No one considered what this would mean for Oliver and Zoe. No one acknowledged that I had been told the exact same thing about our temporary stay, which was now approaching the 2-year mark. Marcus and Vanessa moved in the following weekend like conquering armies. My father helped them set up an elaborate portable crib in their room for Logan, though he had never once offered to help assemble the twins' beds when we moved in. My mother cleared out an entire closet for Vanessa's designer clothes, while my belongings had remained in suitcases for months before I eventually bought a small dresser for myself. The changes were immediate and devastating. Suddenly, Oliver and Zoe were told to keep their voices down throughout the day, because Logan is napping. Their toys, which had been limited to their bedroom and a small corner of the living room, were now considered clutter, and repeatedly shoved into boxes like garbage. The television, which they had been allowed to watch for 1 hour after school, was now permanently tuned to whatever shows Vanessa wanted to watch. When I came home from a long shift one evening, I found Zoe sitting on the back porch alone, sobbing. "What's wrong, honey?" I asked, sitting beside her and pulling her close. "Grandma said I was being too loud with my jump rope in the backyard," she sniffled. But Logan wasn't even sleeping. He was in the living room with Aunt Vanessa. She just didn't want to hear me counting my jumps. That same week, Oliver came home from school glowing with excitement about an art project. He had been selected to represent his class in a district-wide exhibition, a huge honor. When he tried to show my mother, she waved him away dismissively. "Not now, Oliver. I'm helping Vanessa pick out new curtains for their house." I watched my son's face crumble before he carefully composed himself. Something inside me turned to ice. That night, after the kids were asleep, I tried to have a rational conversation with my parents. "I understand that Marcus and his family need help right now," I began carefully, but I'm seriously concerned about how Oliver and Zoe are being treated. They feel like they're not important anymore." My father frowned with shocking dismissiveness. "They're being oversensitive. Kids need to learn that babies require more attention." "Logan isn't even here most of the day," I pointed out. "Marcus takes him to daycare before work, and Vanessa picks him up. Oliver and Zoe aren't asking for attention during those hours." My mother sighed dramatically, like I was the most exhausting person on earth. "You always were jealous of your brother, Rachel. I thought you would have outgrown that by now." I was stunned into silence. Was that really how they saw me? As a jealous sibling rather than a concerned mother protecting her children? The situation continued deteriorating like a cancer. Vanessa began rearranging items in the kitchen without asking, complaining about the healthy snacks I bought for the twins, and leaving her laundry in the machine for days. Marcus acted like he owned the house, inviting friends over for loud watch parties without checking if anyone else had plans. One evening, I overheard Marcus and my father discussing their arrangements. "We might need to extend the renovation timeline," Marcus was saying casually. "The contractor found some foundation issues." "Stay as long as you need," my father replied warmly. "This is your home too." I thought about how I had never been told that, despite contributing significantly to household expenses and doing most of the cooking and cleaning. Instead, I was regularly reminded that their help was temporary and conditional. The final breaking point came during a Sunday dinner in early October. My mother had prepared all of Marcus's favorite foods, none of which my children particularly enjoyed. When Oliver politely asked if there was anything else he could eat, my mother told him he was being ungrateful. "When I was growing up, we ate what was put in front of us," she said with vicious sternness. Later in the meal, Logan threw his entire plate on the floor, and everyone laughed indulgently. "He's just exploring his world," Vanessa explained with a smile, making no move to clean up the disgusting mess. The double standard was so blatant that even my usually diplomatic son noticed. "How come Logan can throw food, but I can't ask for a sandwich?" he whispered to me. I had no good answer for him. The situation exploded beyond my worst nightmares in mid-October. I was scheduled for a 12-hour shift at the hospital. It was particularly chaotic with 3 new admissions and a staff shortage. I barely had time to check my phone during my short lunch break, but when I did, I saw several panicked texts from both Oliver and Zoe. From Oliver: "Mom, something weird is happening. Grandpa and Uncle Marcus are moving our stuff." From Zoe: "Grandma says we have to move to the basement. This isn't fair." From Oliver: "Mom, please come home. They took all our things downstairs." From Zoe: "I hate it here. The basement is cold and gross and there are spiders." My heart was pounding as I tried calling home. No answer. I tried both children's phones. No answer. Finally, I texted Zoe: "I'll be home as soon as I can. Stay calm. I love you both." The drive home was the longest 20 minutes of my entire life. When I pulled into the driveway, I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself before going inside. The scene that greeted me confirmed my worst fears. Oliver and Zoe sat huddled together on the living room couch, both with red-rimmed eyes from crying. My mother was in the kitchen with Vanessa, both drinking tea as if nothing devastating had happened. "What's going on?" I demanded, going straight to my traumatized children. Zoe jumped up and threw her arms around me. "They moved all our stuff to the basement without asking. They said we don't deserve the good rooms upstairs." Oliver nodded miserably. "Grandpa said Uncle Marcus's family needs more space because they're more important right now." In the kitchen, my mother barely looked up when I entered like I was a minor inconvenience. "You're home early," she observed coldly. "Why are my children's belongings in the basement?" I asked directly. Vanessa sipped her tea with shocking casualness. "We needed to make some adjustments to the living arrangements. Marcus and I need a nursery for Logan, plus space for my home office now that my company has gone remote." "So you decided to move Oliver and Zoe to the unfinished basement without discussing it with me first?" My voice was deadly quiet. My mother finally met my eyes. It was the logical solution. The children are older and can adapt more easily than a baby. Besides, our other grandson deserves the best rooms. He's here all day while your children are at school. The casual cruelty of her statement took my breath away. The basement had mold in one corner, got freezing cold at night, and had an unfinished ceiling. There was only one small window that didn't even open properly. My children deserve a safe, comfortable space just as much as Logan does, I said firmly. Don't be so dramatic, Rachel. My mother dismissed. The basement is perfectly fine. We put their beds down there and everything. The basement has visible mold, gets freezing cold, and has inadequate emergency exits, I pointed out. It's not even a legal bedroom by housing code standards. My father waved his hand dismissively. Those codes are just government overreach. At that moment, something crystallized within me, a calm certainty about what needed to happen next. I walked back to the living room where Oliver and Zoe waited anxiously. They looked up at me with such trust, such hope that I would fix this nightmare situation. I smiled at them genuinely and said 3 words that would change everything. Pack your bags. They looked confused, but I nodded encouragingly. Trust me. Pack everything important to you. We'll get the rest later. My father had followed me and overheard. Oh, for heaven's sake, Rachel. Stop being so dramatic. No one is asking you to leave. I turned to him, still smiling. No, Dad. You just made it abundantly clear where my children and I stand in this family. We deserve better. What are you talking about? My father sputtered as Oliver and Zoe looked between us with wide, hopeful eyes. Go on, kids, I said gently. Go pack your backpacks with your most important things. We'll come back for the rest tomorrow. As they hurried upstairs, my mother entered with Vanessa following, Logan perched on her hip. The gang was all here for the showdown. What nonsense is this now? My mother demanded. You can't just leave because things didn't go your way. This isn't about things not going my way, I explained with shocking calm. This is about basic respect and consideration, which has been sorely lacking in this household. We've given you a roof over your head for nearly 2 years. My father exploded. How dare you talk about lack of consideration? Yes, you have, I acknowledged. And I've been grateful. I've also contributed financially, done most of the cooking and cleaning, and made sure my children respected your rules. But today you crossed a line that I will not allow. Vanessa scoffed with incredible arrogance. It's just a bedroom rearrangement. You're being ridiculously oversensitive. Is that what you would call it if someone moved your child to an unsuitable space without consulting you first? I asked. She had no answer for that. Where exactly do you think you're going to go? Marcus asked with a smirk. It's not like you've been saving much with your spending habits. And there it was, the fundamental misunderstanding they all shared. They saw me as financially dependent and irresponsible despite all evidence to the contrary. That's where you're wrong, I said quietly. I've been saving since the day I moved in here. I've been working extra shifts and building my emergency fund. And 3 weeks ago, I signed a lease on a house not far from here. The stunned silence was deeply satisfying. You were planning to leave without telling us? My mother asked, voice trembling with manufactured hurt. I was planning to give you proper notice next week, I clarified. The house isn't available until November 1st, but today's events have accelerated my timeline. You can't be serious, Marcus said, his arrogance finally cracking. Where are you going to stay until then? That's no longer any of your concern, I replied. Oliver and Zoe came back downstairs, each with a backpack and small bag. Zoe was clutching her clarinet case, and Oliver had his favorite drawing supplies and the stuffed dragon he'd slept with since age 3. We're ready, Mom, Zoe said, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in months. This is ridiculous, my mother declared. You can't seriously be leaving right now. We are, I confirmed. We'll come back tomorrow for the rest when everyone has calmed down. If you walk out that door, don't expect to be welcomed back with open arms, my father threatened. I looked at him sadly. I stopped expecting that a long time ago, Dad. As I helped Oliver and Zoe put their bags in the car, my family watched from the porch with expressions ranging from fury to disbelief. They had been so certain of their power over me, so confident in my dependence. As I started the car, my mother rushed over to my window. Rachel, please. You're overreacting. Come back inside and we'll figure something out. We'll talk tomorrow when I come to get our things, I said firmly. But where will you go? She asked with genuine concern, finally breaking through. Somewhere where my children are valued, I answered simply and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I could see Oliver and Zoe looking back at the house that had been our prison for nearly 2 years. Not with sadness, I realized, but with relief. That night, we stayed with Nancy, my friend from work, who welcomed us warmly. She had prepared her guest room and even bought ice cream for us to celebrate our freedom. The next morning, I took a personal day to retrieve our belongings. When we arrived, my parents were waiting with a mixture of anger and desperation. Come to apologize for your tantrum? My father asked. No, I replied evenly. We've come to get our things. The process was tense but civil. My parents cycled through guilt trips, appeals to family unity, and finally grudging acknowledgement that perhaps they had been insensitive. We didn't realize how it looked from your perspective, my father conceded. We just thought we were helping Marcus and Vanessa through a difficult time. I understand that, I said. But you helped them at the expense of my children's well-being and safety. That's something I cannot overlook. Over the following weeks, our lives transformed in ways I could scarcely have imagined. Our small rental house became a true home filled with laughter, artwork on the refrigerator, and the comfortable chaos of family life where everyone was valued. Oliver and Zoe blossomed, their confidence returning as they settled into an environment where they were respected and cherished. I received an unexpected promotion to charge nurse with better hours and significantly higher pay. Meanwhile, through the family grapevine, I heard that Marcus and Vanessa were struggling. Without me there to help with household management and emergency childcare, they were finding it challenging to maintain their perfect facade. 6 months later, when we finally bought our own home, my father surprised me by saying, "I'm proud of you, Rachel. Buying a house on your own is no small accomplishment." I know I haven't always been fair, he continued. Your mother and I have been talking about how we handled things. I can't change the past, but I'd like to do better going forward. It wasn't a full apology, but from my proud, stubborn father, it was monumental. As I tucked Oliver and Zoe into bed that first night in our house, truly our house, Zoe said something that confirmed I had made the right decision. I like our house, Mom, she said sleepily. I feel like I can breathe here. We had created a home where my children could breathe freely, both literally and figuratively. Sometimes the greatest betrayals lead to the most necessary departures. What seemed like an ending had actually been a beginning of self-respect, true independence, and showing my children what it meant to stand up for yourself and those you love. Family isn't just about blood or obligation. It's about mutual respect, consistent kindness, and the choice to value each person for who they truly are. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to protect your family's well-being? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe for more real-life stories of overcoming toxic family challenges. Remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pack your bags and create the life you and your children deserve. Thank you for listening, and may you always find the courage to stand up for what's right, especially when it's the hardest thing you'll ever do.